Go.
All right.
You do the intro today.
I do the introduction.
Turn for turn, it seems.
This would be episode number 4.
Yes.
Wow, we're going hard.
We're going hard.
I needed this today, the podcast.
I needed this today.
Yeah. What did you need today?
I needed snacks.
You did need snacks, and I got them for you.
You got me snacks.
Ketogenic
snacks. Because I'm doing keto for a month.
Snack attack. And I got you strawberries.
Yes, which I haven't got into yet.
And I got you, what are they called again?
Porn crackers. Porn?
Porn crackers.
It's just white people having sex and I eat them.
Pork
crackers.
They're, like pork rinds, like the skin, right?
Yeah.
Crackling, that stuff.
And nuts. But this isn't important to anyone. No one cares about what snacks I'm eating. What was important to you today?
Snacks are highly important. What I needed today was good sex in the morning.
Can I hit it in the morning?
Can I hit it? Look, you know that I'm obsessed with sex, so that's all you will hear me talk about.
Yeah, I'm a sex pest nowadays.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about today?
Well, that's me stalling. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about.
What's been alive for you since we've last talked?
Okay, well, relationships is always alive for me.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with relationships.
Yes.
And navigating, like, learning how to date and learning how to, like, read people.
Mm-hmm.
And decide, whether someone is good to have a thing with or not, and what signs to look for and red flags, and how to, like, even, like, learn my own self, like my own feeling body as the compass, like I'm still figuring out that if a person has traits that annoy me, then that means that I don't like them. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing, but I just have some hectic wires crossed in that part of my brain.
But can you, like, casual dating, how many things are you willing to compromise in casual dating?
Well, this is what I've been discovering for the last few months, because if I'm dating someone who, they don't need to meet my family, that, we don't need to move in together. It's just, well, for me, it's also not just sex. I don't think that is how I do sex.
Yeah.
For me, like, even if it's we're not in a committed relationship, if there's sexual intimacy, then there's got to be some level of emotionality for me personally, mainly because my sex is extremely connected to my emotions, like my erotic body, my emotional body, like they're just very together. And if there's no feeling at all, I don't enjoy myself, and I can't really get into it. So for that reason, it's not just sex or casual sex.
Yeah.
But sex without, commitment, let's say, that I can tolerate a lot, I've realized.
Yeah.
I realize I can actually tolerate a lot. And I don't know if it's a good idea to always tolerate that much. Like, initially, when I was first single, I just wanted to get laid. I really just missed sex and intimacy so much. So the first person I slept with, this like young boy, he told me, well, on the dating app, it said he was like, I think 30. But then when we were chatting, he said he was 27. But then when he came to my house, I was like, you are not 27. You are a boy. And I think he was 20, actually, when he ended up fessing his age, which is fine. Fucking age is just a number. However,
20. Damn.
That age is closer to my son's age than it is to me, which is a little bit terrifying.
Damn.
And, he came under the guise of giving me a booty massage. And
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Remember this guy? Aladdin. We will call him Aladdin. And yeah, and then like it just, went to sex as I assume that that's what he wanted. And, I wanted sex too, but I wasn't sure how fast I could go, because I hadn't had sex with anyone for a whole year, which is a very long time.
It's a long time.
And then there's this person who I don't fucking know, total stranger. I was like quite nervous when he walked in, and I was visibly nervous. I was not cool. Like, we sat on my couch and he was being all like flirtatious, and I was just being such a loser. I was like, I'm sorry, I haven't had sex with anyone for a year. I'm really like nervous. It was hilarious.
To be a fly on the wall.
Oh God, it was so funny. But yeah, within talking to him for a few minutes, I realized, well, I really don't like you, like, as a person.
Oh.
You can tell pretty quickly, whether you're going to enjoy someone or not.
Like him as a person, or like him as someone that you want to be friends with?
Yeah, like, I wouldn't be friends with him in the real world.
Yes. Yes.
He was just immature, young. We didn't have a lot in common. He was cocky, a little bit arrogant. I just didn't really enjoy much about him, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But he was already in my house. And I was like, well, I got to do it.
How many times have I been that person? You're already at my house.
And I don't know, like, I think that you can always find a point of connection with someone.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be sex, And I always tell myself that. It's like, you don't have to have sex with this person.
Mm.
You can just, like, find the thing that you like. It's like, maybe you just want to play with their hair, or maybe you just want to stroke them, or maybe you just want to let them hold you, or whatever. Like, you can find that point of connection that feels good, and you don't ever have to go any further than that. And I know that consciously, but then, like, you're there and it's like, oh, this feels good. All right, this feels good. And you just like go to the next thing and the next thing. And also, like, the more you're in someone's presence, well, for me anyway, you begin to see them, beyond all the stuff.
Yes.
You begin to actually see who they are. And I think everyone at their core is a beautiful person.
Of course.
So anyway, we fugged.
Yeah.
And then later, he sent me a message asking if I knew where he could get mushrooms from. I was like, no, dude, like, this is so weird. But he tried to initiate again. And the way that he instigated was by sending me a GIF of two people fucking. That was his way of saying, let's do it again.
Wow.
And I was like, nah, I'm not into it.
Oh.
I'm not into it, sorry.
Bold. I like, not for me personally, but
not for me.
I like that it exists out there.
I mean,
that
fair
it might
enough.
work for some people.
Yeah, it did not hit correctly for me personally. I'm more of like, I definitely am a visual person. I mean, I like taking videos of myself and whoever I'm sleeping with, but I also like intelligence.
Yes.
That's a big turn on for me.
Yes.
Someone who can, flirt and like say the right things and, be a bit edgy and taboo and all of that. That's a turn on for me.
Well, we all know I'm into taboo.
You are the king of taboo. The king of it.
I don't know about that. Atlas has some stories.
Oh, definitely. He's a bit extreme. So maybe because, you being in this new relationship, I'd be curious to know, like, was there any particular things that you were looking for to know that, yes, I can actually, like, commit to a person? Like, were there things that you knew, or was it just a feeling? Like, what was it for you?
Values is what I knew I could commit. Like, this relationship, if I had like a manifestation list.
Lol.
So far, the only thing that was on that list that I wanted that my current relationship doesn't have was I just wanted him to have a dog that Acacia could be friends with. Look, we can compromise on that.
True. That is a negotiable.
Yeah. But like someone that values personal development, communication, art, nature, like going in different states. These are the things that I really value and wanted in someone else. And just the highest one is like personal development and communication. As long as someone is on that journey of personal development that can meet mine, that's somewhere near mine, and can keep up with my communication, those are like the top to needs. Like that understands trauma and wants to work on it, you know, that can identify problems and wants to work on it.
Yeah.
Those are my things. And then, there's a list that goes underneath it, such as, art and nature and etc. But, those are the things. And, like, I dated a lot of people over the last year before meeting Tim, and I had a lot of fun, but there's a certain people that just didn't meet me in those areas. Yeah.
I hear you on that. Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I think, like, you need someone who is compatible with you,
Yes.
but also, like, not someone who's exactly like you.
Yeah.
You know, you need someone who's got strengths in areas maybe where you're weak and vice versa. But in terms of values, I think that's key for me as well. Like recently, you know, I was telling you there's a person who I had like high hopes for our connection.
Yes.
And I was excited because on paper, it seemed like it was going to be a good thing. You know, it was like super gorgeous person, same age as me, and similar background. We'd both come from like Christian backgrounds. Both of our folks were Christian pastors, and he's a yogi. And I was like, oh, this is going to be such a vibe. I was so excited. But the reality of the connection when we started talking, I was just like, oh, actually, our values are different. And I could feel that. And one of my core values is like generosity. And particularly in terms of like emotional generosity, you know, and communication generosity. When someone's stingy with their communication,
yuck.
It really...
For me.
Yeah, well, it irks me.
For me.
And I don't think I realized it as clearly until that happened. And I was like fighting with myself because on paper, it should have worked.
Yes.
And when we met in person, it was lovely. You know, we had a good vibe. But then the communication otherwise was just like... I felt like he was like rationing little bits. And I was just like, this is already making me anxious. Imagine what it's going to be like if we did fuck and then I got emotionally invested and then, you know, like rationing out little tiny bits of his communication. And for me, I don't know, like maybe I'm too extreme. Well, you know, I am very extreme. But I was like, it just gave me symptoms of like, you're not generous in your sharing. Yeah.
I think that, you know, it's a very fascinating thing. So the person, like, I was, you know, I had dated a few people before Tim, and there was only, of the few people I dated, there was one person that I was like, oh shit, like, I see some values, I see some, like, this is what I'm interested in. And his communication was, like, not big, you know? And it was very to the point and wasn't much else going on. And I could feel the lack of investment. Versus when I talked to Tim and we were starting to get together, was the communication wasn't massive. It wasn't. But I could feel when the communication was on that there was interest and wanting to be more, but also seeing, like, from my perception, that he was also keeping his cards close, you know. It's like, I will let you see little bits and pieces as we go, but I'm giving you what I'm willing to give you, and there's each time a little bit more, you know, which was new for me. For a lot of the female relationships I had been in, it was very like, and coming from the same circles, yourself included, is just like all in sort of
crash into me.
Yeah. So I was sort of used to that, and you know, there had been me when I was reevaluating and wanting to get into another relationship again, was like, I didn't want that. I didn't want that. Like when I was in my last relationship, female relationship, we went deep very quickly, and I remember during it, I was at F45 one day, and there's this beautiful woman on the other side of the class. I had no clue who she was, didn't know who she ran with or anything like that, and I was like, oh, imagine what it'd be like dating her. You know, I know nothing about her, and we would have to slowly get to know each other. I was like, I need that, you know, like, so Versus when I started it with Tim, it's a bit like, I was like, oh, like, I want to confess all my feelings and what's going on and what I feel vulnerable about, and like pour my cup into you, but I knew that wasn't it, like it was really good. Like and what I wanted had been met with me, and I had to stay in my integrity of what I was manifesting, like I was at the test of my intention.
Yeah.
And I was grateful for the levels of boundaries he has around his willingness to open up to people.
Yeah. That's cool. I'm not there yet. Just like, I just know that,
Yeah.
And maybe I'll never be there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a choice that I make. Like, I've been thinking lately, like, it still seems like there's, we've done so much work on deconditioning and breaking down paradigms and dogmas and things like that. But it still feels like societally or like culturally there's like the right way to do relationships.
Yeah.
I still feel that, it's like, oh yeah, like, yeah, you can date and do whatever, but actually, that deep down you just, you want to be in a monogamous relationship, or it's like, well, that's the right way to do it. Or when you finally, get into some kind of exclusive thing, then the people around you are like, oh, wow, we're so happy for you. You finally found a person, blah, blah, blah. It's like celebrated. Whereas like, why don't you celebrate me if I'm fucking 5 people a week? Like, celebrate me. I'm doing relationships, right? It's I mean, that's extreme, but yeah, I still know that within myself, there's still a little bit of judgment around the way that I like to relate, which is hard and fast and crash into me, and like, if we burn, we burn,
Yeah.
But we loved hard because I love that. And maybe it's like toxic because it's addictive and whatever. It's like, so what?
Yeah. What I'm figuring out is how to have both. Is like to have moments of loving hard and then also having distance, and also loving hard to this level, it's like, it's this analogy comes from, which isn't exactly correct, but it's like performing to a crowd of 5 versus a stadium, is like, you can do the stadium straight up, but maybe your show isn't sustainable to that right now. Like, you haven't got the tour experience to go out and perform to whatever that is, 50,000 people, 20,000 people versus like, okay, yeah, I can do some crowds to 10, and like, how can I give my most to these people and that different level? Not the best analogy, but the best I got off the top of my head. So like, what I'm trying to say is like, loving and experiencing with the most of where we're at right now versus like trying to go somewhere where we're not really just yet.
I hear that.
Like a big thing, like a big permission piece I got from dating with you was like, very early in the relationship, hitting the table, not allowed to do that, is having the moments of feeling love and saying, I love you, but then maybe later, I don't feel like that. Like, I'm not in like 24/7 love with you yet, but we might be making love and I'm like, I'm in love with you, or I have a moment with you, it's like, oh, I love you. And then later it's like, I'm not in that place of love anymore.
Yeah.
I loved having that permission, and I had experienced that with certain dating people later, but then, it was then with Tim, is like, it took a while for me to say it to him, and it took longer for him to say it to me. And I see the value in that as well now that I had the permission to say it I'd said it on first dates with people, to versus like, it took multiple dates and months for Tim and I to get to that place. That it's sort of like, I see it in a way of, I guess fascinatingly enough, I am doing it right now, but it's like monogamy, societal monogamy, and then going into polyamory and reclaiming that not need, and then there's sort of like conscious monogamy, and that's why I'm sort of feeling like I've journeyed with like my love you, is like societal I love you, like polyamory I love you, and then conscious I love you,
I like that.
just like that I've got to go to the other side of the pendulum and then try and find a balance in between.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I think like for me, love, there's so many different like qualities of it, but like I think about when I'm relating with people, I'm relating to you, the person, but actually, and also I'm relating with love itself.
Yes.
And like you are a portal in that moment for the love that exists within me, that exists within the world. And it's like, when I say I love you in that moment, what I mean is like I am in a state of love. Like I am fully open to love right now. My heart is so open right now. And I really feel a very real experience of love with you in this moment.
Yes.
You know? And then when you decide to be in a relationship with someone and create some kind of agreement or relationship container, then you say I love you. For me, that's like I choose you.
Yeah.
It's like I'm choosing you right now.
Yeah. I believe that, again, like with that exploration of I love you, is that it's breaking out of the conditioning. But then also, regardless, there's charge in the word, there's stigma, and there's like conditioning in the words regardless. No matter how far you go out of it, it's just like, you know, words get reclaimed and certain words mean certain things in different contexts. Like saying I love you has a certain bond, a certain ritual, a certain magic to it that no matter if you say, like what I feel is like, if I say that to someone on a first date and I mean it as in I am open, I am cracked open right now, I say it, there's sort of no coming back from that in a way as well. And that's in my body is like that spell has been cast on me subconsciously, even though I've consciously as well been like, I mean it in this way, but the weight of that word is still societally like on a like overarching conscious level has something that's beyond my ability to go, I'm reclaiming what that means.
I hear that. There's a myth of it, like it has a mythology with it. The I love you, not just the I love you that I mean, but the I love you that all of my ancestors met, and all the movies and all of that. I fully hear that. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think also, you know, when someone says it for the first time, it is that moment of like, oof, you feel, or when you say it for the first time, there's this moment of like, oh, fuck, that was vulnerable. Fuck, that was edgy. And you feel this like burst of whatever it is. It's a drug. It's a drug to say that. Do you want to shoot up the heroin now or later? You know, but it's a drug for sure.
Yeah.
It's a particular chemical. And it's also like, you could say love you, which is different I love you. It's so different. Yeah, very different. And, you know, journeying that right now, again, from, I think it was the second podcast, is like that grief of feeling like how special it is now and how eventually it's going to be, hey, I love you, you know, like, you just say it, you know, because that's what you do in a relationship eventually, and you still do love the person, but the potency of it has worn thin. I don't want that. But it'll happen, you know. It's like that. It's that the temporariness of everything, you know. Nothing is permanent. It's impermanence. It's that Buddhist concept, but it's fucking true. And it's also not true at the same time.
Of course. You can choose to really consciously journey to make sure that I love you keeps potency in it.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, nothing really ever disappears. It always still exists in some shape or form. You know, it is there in some way, whether it's just in your memory or whether that's, you know, however it transmutes. But it is still there. Like, I still think about all of the exes of mine, and if I've ever said I love you, even to friends that, you know, if we're no longer friends, for me anyway, if I've ever said I love you, I fucking meant it. If I've ever said I love you, that means I love you. And there's a space in my heart that only you can occupy. Nobody else can be in that space. It's got your name, your shape, your form, And it's always going to be there. And if you remove yourself from my life, or if I remove you from my life, there's a little hole there, you know, in that space where you used to be. And like, yeah, like your ghost is there now or whatever, your memory, but it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah, I've always been to the belief, once I love someone, I don't unlove them.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah. No, they're forever in my heart. Like, even like someone like Neri, that we don't talk. We had quite a, like, you know, toxic unraveling. I still love him, you know, all the way over there.
Yes,
you know?
yes, that's it.
You know?
Yeah. It's the same with, like, I mean, it's not the same, but my brother, for example,
Yeah.
you know, my older brother, we don't speak. If we see each other, we pretend we don't see each other. It's like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I fucking love him.
Yeah.
He's my brother.
Yeah.
We grew up together, you know? I've known him since I was born. And the pain for me around that is that I love him.
Yeah.
And I love him, and yet he is such a bastard to me. And he's such a fucking awful human in terms of who he is in my life. I'm sure he's not awful to everyone, but has been such a villain in my life.
Yes.
And why does it hurt me so badly? Because I love him so much, you know, and and it's like taken years of like going back and forth between having a friendship and then not having a friendship, and then finally me just being like, I am so much more at peace loving him in my heart and just having a boundary. It's just like, because to love him actively in my actions, like, and talk to him and have that, I actually can't love him to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't do it. And that's just where my limitation is. But at least this way, I don't have to sit there and think about how much I hate him and like, fuck this cunt and he did this to me. And it's like, because there is that boundary, I feel at ease. And like, if I think about him, I don't feel angry, you know, I don't feel upset. It's just like, yeah, I love him, but we can't have a relationship right now.
Yeah. Well, that's a big thing. Like, you know, think about, you know, Neri, like, one of the last words I said to him, like, of our, you know, friendship breakup, and it's sort of the same with Phoenix when we had our moment, even though we're on talking terms again, is like, my thing is, like, my breakup words are, I just don't like who I am when I'm with you. And I know you're a good person, but just not good for me right now.
Yes. Yeah. Someone wrote something recently, you know, Jamie Miranda. She's a spiral
prac, from America or something.
Yeah, she did a post which I love. I've spoken about it before, but I love the way she worded it. She was like, just because a person is toxic to you doesn't make them a toxic person.
Yes. Oh my God, if society knew that.
Yeah, it's so good, because there's so much, you know, how many fucking memes on Instagram, like, you know, toxic this, toxic that, this person's toxic, cut toxic people from your life. It's like, just because you experienced a shitty experience with someone and their behavior was toxic with you doesn't mean that they are toxic. It's sometimes it's just like that particular combination of people results in toxic chemicals, you know. It's crazy. Like, you'll be like the most chill, calm, easygoing, cool person with any other fucking person, and then you meet one person and then you become the most toxic fucking person ever. That's happened to me. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I never do this.
Yeah.
And it's just certain combinations and certain wounds and certain triggers playing into each other can really create toxic results.
Yeah, well, that's always been a big thing of mine, and things where I've found controversy is like, you know, two of the bigger times is when XXXTentacion died, and
that's right.
All the rape allegations came up with him and the abuse allegations, and people are slamming him as a lot of people are mourning his death. You know, I unpacked it, you know, like, these may be true, I don't know. But deep down, he's like a very wounded boy that was playing out a lot of trauma, and he just died. Like, get off his back. And then the other one of when I wrote for the Star Observer, when they had wrote about the homophobic guy and got him cancelled and his business got closed and whatnot. Like, doing that article of, if you're going to call someone out, the next step is to call them back in. And it was their most engaged post of people going, this guy's gaslighting us, you know, like he's sticking up for a homophobe. Homophobia means no matter what, they're cancelled, you know?
That's what I hate about woke culture.
Oh, yes.
I hate about these, when I say these, I'm trying to like, you know, other myself, like, oh, I'm not woke. But you know what I mean? Like the culture of wokeness. Cancel culture. Yeah, and it's like the self-righteous bullshit, the self-righteous justification of like, oh, because I'm a minority, I can hate people. I can vilify, I can condemn, I can cancel you. And it's like why do you feel entitled to point the finger and to blame and to cancel because you think you're defending people who deserve love and justice, but your love only extends to the people that you feel you share some kind of similarity with, or you know, wear this or wear that, or you know, it's like, to me, I feel like you're only doing one half of the work. The other half of the work is like, can you also understand that a person's toxicity, if they are toxic or if they are harmful, always comes from a wound. It always comes from some kind of dysfunction, and the dysfunction is caused by some kind of wound or some trauma. And if you follow that back, and if you actually have the patience and the love and the courage and the compassion to sit with your quote unquote enemies or with your aggressors or whatever, and find that love there, like that to me is the fucking healing.
A big thing, you know, I've been thinking about is, you know, the woke culture and cancel culture. And a big one that happened recently was with Elon Musk hosting SNL and everyone wanting to cancel him and being so upset that they're getting him on there because he is the epitome of someone that needs to be cancelled because now he's the richest man in the world, blah, blah, blah. Woke culture want to cancel someone that's rich for creating solar panel companies, for creating electric cars, for wanting to fly to Mars to have somewhere in case something goes wrong with Earth, like to continue humanity. You know, he has done things, you know, he has been quite irrational with staff and has been like quite like in some ways like a tyrant to make these things happen. But overall, he's doing it for the better of humanity. And it's like, in some way, Elon Musk is the wokest business person out there, you know, but they want to cancel him, you know, and it's always been a question with him and of like what his actual like mental situation is. And people trying to cancel him left, right, and center, and then he announces on SNL that he has Asperger's.
Well, I think that's pretty obvious. You know, lately that's been helping me a lot because I've been dating a lot of people who display symptoms of some kind of neurodiversity. You know, it's like, ADHD, or sometimes, like Asperger's, or, you know, autism, and kind of feeling like, oh, there's some things here. But lately I've just been like, fucking everyone is... There is no such thing as a typical brain, you know, that thinks in a particular way. Everyone has some kind of, you know, diverseness in them, as in like we are all different, we're all diverse in our own unique way. But yeah, like particularly with people like Elon Musk, it's so interesting because I think the biggest gripe that people have with him is that you have so much, you should be doing more. And it's like the people who say he should be doing more aren't doing 0.0001% of what he's doing. We've so say for instance, his net worth of whatever that is, a billion, trillion, but he's a billion trillionaire. The percentage of money he puts towards healing the world. With whatever that person that's ridiculing him, their net worth, I believe their percentage that they're putting towards the earth. Not everyone, but a majority, I like to assume, are probably not donating to this charity or doing this or whatever they want him to do. If they are, they're doing it from this very martyr kind of, you know, place of like, I have to kill myself to save the world, you know? And that's what he's sort of doing. He's killing himself to save the world in certain ways. Like he works tirelessly around the clock, manages like 4 very
epic, and he's going into 5 really big businesses that are towards like healing people and the earth, you know? So
in his way.
In his way.
Whether or not you agree with it, I think we can all agree that he is trying.
He's trying.
He's trying.
He's really trying, you know, in what he thinks. So another hot take that I've been thinking about for a long while now is, so if we're talking about like mental illness or neurodiversity and this wave of people rightfully so sticking up for mental illness and talking about mental health, is that, and especially anxiety being a big one right now, is that a lot of people shame narcissism. But narcissism is a mental illness, if you want to talk in that language. I'm very curious about that conversation. People that are mental health people that also like to shame narcissists.
Well, this is my big beef with things in general. It's not a beef, that's not true, but it's like, this is the reason why, like, I essentially can't really mess with like that conversation, like narcissism versus the empath.
Yes.
Because to me, they're both victims and they're both neither.
Yes.
And, you know, I've been in situations where people have diagnosed me as a narcissist and people have diagnosed my partner who was abusive as a narcissist. And I just refuse to buy into that language because there's so much bullshit around it. And it's like, for me, people are fucking people.
Yes.
We're just human beings. We're doing the best with what we have. Yeah, we are traumatized. Yeah, we have personality disorders because of what we experienced growing up, because of the, you know, the things that happen to us. And so we develop these complexes and we develop all of these ways of surviving that sometimes are really unhelpful, you know. But is anyone inherently evil? That's the thing. That's the question. I think like that is the pivotal question for me. Like, I cannot believe that there is such thing as pure evil.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it, you know? And like, even like, oh man, I wrote this article like years ago when all the pedophilia was coming out in the Catholic Church, and I wrote the article about like Catholic priests and like saying like, well, where do monsters come from?
Yeah.
If they're monsters, what makes a monster?
Yeah.
And if you are a Catholic priest, at one point you were a Catholic altar boy, and at one point you would have been abused by the priest in that church, and you would have all of this shame around what happened to you, and you can't speak about it, and it gets mutated and it sits in the recesses of your mind, and then it comes out in these fucked up ways, and the cycle gets perpetuated. But we call them monsters.
Yeah.
You're a monster. Like, we as a society have created these monsters because of our own shadow that we refuse to own, because we other it and we say, that's outside of me. I'm not a rapist. I'm not a pedophile. I'm not a racist. I'm not a this. I'm different. It's out there. And therefore it just perpetuates.
Yeah.
And we call that evil without actually going, no, like the behavior is evil, but there's a person under that behavior. And like, we don't look at ways that we can rehabilitate the human spirit. Instead, we condemn, and because we believe in Satan and we believe in the devil, which is the biggest fucking bullshit myth ever.
We've come a long way from casual dating.
We went on a tangent.
We're on a tangent, but let's stay. Is, you know, and hopefully we can continue to have these conversations and give these perspectives of, like, you know, when you're saying that people like you're a racist and I am not, or you're a rapist and I am not, is that people haven't journeyed that part of themselves, you know, and have othered it so hard, and there's just not enough tools out there to really like mainstream tools for you to journey those parts of yourself, you know. And we're quite lucky that we have different modalities such as open world theatre, ISTA, dancing eros, the spiral, things that we've been through, that you journey certain things like this where you are, you know, the rapist and the rapee, the pedophile and the prey, child, you know, all these different things, is going through it and embodying it and playing out these quote unquote scenes that are very real. It's not acting, it's putting yourself in that situation consensually and moving through it, which, so to some people listening right now, is probably cannot grapple it. And it is a lot on the nervous system. You have to train yourself to be able to go, okay, I can do this without creating trauma. Like, you don't want to re-traumatize yourself. It takes the building blocks to get to these certain places. But yeah, I think that's a big thing society lacks, is just like, where can we find all these parts of ourselves, you know, the slave and the slave owner, the this and the that, the man and the woman, just like simpler things as well, you know, the boy and the man, the girl and the woman, the child and the adult, whatever it is, like consciously journeying those things, such as, you know, we don't have rite of passage anymore where we get initiated into these different places. So we're just, a lot of us are in a grey space just trying to figure it out and just going, I don't want to be that, you know, and I'm trying to be this.
Yeah, it's I'm all while we're talking, I'm like, fuck, people are going to hear this, you know? Like, these are the things that, you know, often we have these conversations, but I don't speak publicly on a lot of this stuff because, to be frank, a lot of people would not be able to hear that. You know, if I publicly come out with some sort of compassionate or empathetic view on the people that society says are the worst people ever, like, I'm going to be judged and condemned, because people can't understand that you can love the rapist and the victim. And, you know, this is me speaking as someone who has been raped multiple times, you know, like, I don't have to go into the details of what I've experienced, but I have journeyed being on the victim side of that, like, and actually moving through the trauma. And you've been there for a lot of it, you know, when I've had to actually sit with the flashbacks and sit with the stuff that comes up and actually like move through that in my nervous system. But then also to be able to fully journey it, to know that actually, like, they're not separate from me. Like, they are a human being as much as I am a human being. And I think rape and pedophilia, we should give a trigger warning when we broadcast this. Rape
we can
and
put it in the
we'll put it in the info bar. All right. Rape and pedophilia are the two crimes, or the two violations that our society just cannot confront. We cannot talk about it without the charge and the like vehement hatred. And it's like, when you talk about pedophiles, most people lose their humanity. They're like, kill them, chop their heads off. They deserve to rot.
Whatever it is.
You know, all of that stuff. You know, actually, most pedophiles were raped themselves as children. You know, but that doesn't come into the discussion.
It's like it's like putting it as like out of date. You know, like, that person's gone.
Like, gone.
You know?
Just get rid of him. And for me, like, I think a big problem that we have as a society is that we mistake justice for punishment. It's like, to me, justice is about making things right. And if you want to make things right, you have to make things right on both sides of the coin. Destroy, like, if one life's already been destroyed, the answer is not to then destroy another life. Like, to me, if we need to isolate certain people because they're a hazard to society and they're dangerous, absolutely, we have to do that to keep people safe. Rehabilitation
in its real meaning, not just shutting away, but rehabilitating someone.
Exactly. And, you know, if some people have absolutely no desire to be rehabilitated or to learn or to whatever, if they have no sense that what they've done is wrong whatsoever, then maybe that's a different story, But I think the way that we do things now, it's like punishment, lock you up forever, throw away the key. And yeah, I just think, but particularly like with rape and pedophilia, what I hate in the discussion is that everyone talks about rape like it's the worst thing that can ever happen to you. It's like worse than murder. And
I'm my nervous system's getting, let's keep going, but I'm just flagging my nervous system is getting, just because I'm people listening, and especially that rape and murder. Remember, I did a poll on that one time and I got in a lot of trouble.
Got into a lot of beef.
I got in a lot of trouble for asking people, what do you think is worse?
Yeah.
Let's keep going, but I just...
Well, look, we've offered a trigger warning. If you listen to this, then...
Maybe you didn't need this today, but some of you will.
Need this today.
But some people will.
Yeah.
But just acknowledging that even myself personally, my nervous system, yes, I'm having these conversations, but also I can feel it inside myself. The stirring of, it's not my personal, like, what I feel about these things, but it's this platform, and my own platform, and yours is,
Well, what I want to say, I believe, is ultimately empowering and healing. And that's why I'm going to say it. Because I think that rape is not the worst thing that can ever happen to you. And when we talk about rape, we talk about it in a way like you'll never recover from this. Like that rapist took your life away from you. They took your power from you. They took your innocence from you. And that is a blatant lie.
Yeah, that's the conditioning happening. Like that might feel like that at times.
Yeah, that's what makes it that way. It's like, as a person who's been raped, molested as a child, so I'm a victim of pedophilia and rape. Like, no one fucking took my power from me. No one did. No one can. No one took my innocence from me. No one can. Innocence is an innate state of being that nobody can ever take from you. It belongs to you and you alone. What that person did, they did. And does it have an effect on you? Fuck yeah. Is it traumatizing? Of course. But can you recover from that? Absolutely. Yes. And in your essence, you are always whole. You are always pure. You are always powerful. And it's just that the narrative in our society tells you that if you've been raped, you're broken. That if you've been raped, that's the worst thing that can ever happen to you. And it's fucking bullshit. And I think it's important for me to say this because if that has happened to you, like, do you deserve love and compassion? Fuck yes. Are you the victim of, somebody's like horrible act? Yes, you are.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, it's not a fucking death sentence, and it's not worse than death. Like, you still have a life that you can live.
You're worthy of reclaiming all the pieces that you feel like you've lost.
They are not lost, even though you feel like they're lost. That's what I mean.
The difference there.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, the healing, and it doesn't matter what happens to that rapist. Your healing is your healing.
Yeah,
it's like, yes, we can lock up the rapist. Yes, we can do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, your healing is yours. That's your journey, and that, like, it was always yours and it will always be yours. And, that's kind of what I've had to come to. Like, I have had a few opportunities where I've had the opportunity to sit face to face with some of my, abusers and actually call them out on what happened. Like, this is like 20 years later, 30 years later. And that was terrifying but empowering, but also, like, I didn't need that for my healing. I did my healing. I went into my own shit and reclaimed those parts of myself. It's like, that's why I can sit face to face with that person and say, hey, you did this to me.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
But I don't need to have that for my sake. It's like, I can because I did my healing.
Yes. I think that's a really important part. And for people that are listening that maybe aren't there yet, I really want to, like, clarify that if you feel like you've lost your innocence or they've taken these things away, that's a valid feeling to
Absolutely.
Be feeling, that's not, we're not trying to take that away from you. All we're trying to let you know is you don't have to feel like that forever. And it might, some people's journey might be easier than yours, and some people's might be harder than yours to reclaim those parts of themselves that feel like they're lost. And it's a forever journey as well in certain ways. And it's not only just because of that rape situation, like I've not been, it depends on how you classify rape, but I've definitely been sexually abused as a child. And that's bits and pieces that come up for me. We've lightly spoke about it on other podcasts. And but it's not just that. It's other things that tie into it as well that, I might have put the blame in that one certain area because that's what society says is like this thing is the worst thing, so just put all your attention there. It's like how we blame mum and dad for everything, or your ex-partner for everything that's wrong with you, or whatever it is. It's like rape or sexual abuse or something like that is like a easy thing to put the things on, even as real as it feels at the time.
Yeah, I guess it's important for me to clarify, when I say I did my healing, the healing journey was not always empowered.
No.
It wasn't like, I'm a badass, this didn't affect me. It was like, no, like you go in and you meet the parts of you that you feel are broken, and the parts of you that are deeply, deeply affected and wounded, and the parts of you that, for me, that, felt totally shameful, and they're still there. It's not like you get rid of those parts.
Yeah.
It's not like you just get to go like, all right, goodbye, victim is gone now. Like, that, to me, that's not my experience. To me, the experience is like, wow, there are all of these fragmented parts of myself that I have to bring home to love. That's my healing. Like when I say, my healing journey, I mean, like you go along and you find, holy shit, there's that part of me that I cut myself off from, that I rejected, that I shamed, that I told myself I could not be or whatever. And then you bring them home and you love them, and it's messy and it's painful and it's hard, and you need support and you can't do it by yourself. But is it worth it? Yes. And is it possible? Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I also just want to acknowledge when I speak about these things, I get very passionate.
Yeah, which is great. It's important. You don't want to just throw off some of these things, right?
Yeah, and I just wanted to acknowledge like part of my passion is a little bit of a wound up nervous system as well, because they're highly charged subjects. So I'm not saying like, I'm fully clean around this stuff. Look, doesn't affect me. Like, obviously I can tell that I'm charged because I get passionate about it.
Yeah.
But I still think that is a more empowered place to move from.
Yes.
Rather than this happened to me and now I'm fucked forever.
Yes. Yeah. Playing from, you're passionate about the healing rather than the victim card or the wounded place.
Yeah, and there is always a place for the wound, and there's always a place for the victim. Like,
of course.
It's there, it's in me. The fact is, the thing happened and I didn't fucking choose it.
Yes.
I didn't say, yes, I want this experience to happen. It was fucked. It was a violation. But it's happened now.
Yeah.
And the best thing I can do for myself is to alchemize it and actually let that become part of my story. This thing happened, and what did I do with it? Now I fucking help hundreds of people heal their trauma, and I help hundreds of people reclaim their erotic nature and their full liberated expression and have the best sex of their lives. Like, holy shit.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So something I want to, this is going to have to be for future episodes, but maybe we can do it in some way. So there's one of the podcasts I listen to, and they talk about heavy situations. They have like a song that they play that lightens up the mood afterwards.
That's a great idea.
I feel like we need Nadine's Nothing Matters.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I don't know if we can just cheaply play it now.
No, we just do it in post.
Yeah, no, but even for us. For us as well.
I'll just sing it. Sometimes you find out that people will do anything to justify whatever situation they're in. I don't know if this is the right song.
Bit of an intricate nothing, but it's the energy of it.
Sometimes you realize it's all just one big lie. all the significance we put to our lives. Do 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 do. One day I found out the secret. It's all just matter. All just matter. And if that is true, then I guess that nothing matters. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. Oh, this is cracked. This episode is cracked.
Look, we had to go there. We had to show the range, you know? We have range.
And you know what? I just want, like, man, let's just for a moment, just going back to cancel culture. I gotta say, last year for me was a very scary year. And, you know, confronting, obviously, being isolated for that long a time is not good for mental health. But then, you know, the uprising of social justice movement, Black Lives Matter, is fucking amazing. And I had to confront a lot of my white privilege and a lot of that stuff, which is great. But I was deeply traumatized by seeing the amount of, like, you know, cancel culture and shaming culture that was happening.
Yeah,
and
you were terrified of getting cancelled, I remember.
I was like, I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
I don't want to be seen. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do the wrong thing. It was like, it was fucking scary. So I'm kind of having this moment where I'm like, I'm in a much better place now, mentally, emotionally, like much more stable. And, you know, being able to back everything that you say and back everything that you share, not saying that, yeah, I'm always right, but it's like, I meant what I said. Maybe now that I've seen a different a different viewpoint, or someone has, you know, given me some more insight, maybe I can learn and adjust and grow and evolve. But like, I'm just like feeling into like this, you know, because the things that we've spoken about on this particular episode are quite charged, obviously. And a lot of people will have a lot to say probably about maybe the perceived nonchalantness with which I share, you know, talking about these big things like it's nothing. It's like, it's not that it's nothing, but I just know the place that I'm coming from.
Yes.
And being willing to wear people's judgments, being willing to wear people's criticism, and actually just stand in myself and be like, I can see how you would have seen it that way, and I'm sorry that, you know, that was triggering for you. Yeah. But I meant what I said.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, for instance, after we did our last episode, I listened back to it and there was a few things. I was like, oh, fuck, I wasn't as clear as I should have been on that, you know?
Yeah. There's going to be heaps of that stuff.
There's going to be heaps of stuff. And that's like, the gig is the gig, you know? Like, if we want to be on here sharing our opinions and hopefully delivering some kind of gold to people, and just also getting things off our own chest and sharing our own wisdom, expression, experiences, that's forever growing and forever diversifying and has so many different angles that, you know, right now we're doing hour episodes, can't fit every kind of perspective into 1 hour. And when you're passionate about something, you're passionate about like a line of something rather than being able to have the whole diversity of it, you know. And I'm sure there'll be future episodes where we will argue the opposite and revisit the situation and you know, maybe get some feedback from people and address that, and that'll be, you know, a part of the process. But it's, to me, it's that I want the ability for myself to continue to journey, and I don't want to silence myself in the manner of, I know I've delivered wisdom and I continue to, and I've helped certain people, and how big or small that is, like, that doesn't matter if I can affect one person. And if there's moments where I fuck up, I can apologize and I can own it and I can move through it, which has happened many times before. I've showed up and apologized to people, and you know, both of us have done that, and that's also going to be a part of it, you know.
I always say when I'm teaching my clients, it's like part of your unapologetic expression is being willing to apologize. That is what helps you, and for me, definitely what helps me be so unapologetic in my expression is because I know I'm going to make some mistakes, and I'm going to love myself when I do, and I'm going to have to learn, and I'm going to have to grow, and I'm going to have to fucking be humble enough to apologize when I cause harm or damage or whatever. And it's, you know, it's like the bigger you get, the more projections you have to wear, and you've got this platform and you've got to speak emphatically on things, and you can't just kind of go like, oh, but then there's this side and then there's this side, and this is like, no, you just have to fucking speak what's alive for you in that moment, and people are going to misunderstand you, and people aren't going to be able to always, you know, feel your heart in that moment, and you just have to fucking stand by what you said. It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Like, and you know, we have a friend who has a way bigger platform than ours, that they said something that the people didn't agree with, and that was like nearly a year ago.
Tipped them over the edge. And they're still journeying it to some extent, and it breaks my heart to see that they've left their platform because of they are apologetic in not the unapologetic way, as in like they're not ready to face that publicly, but they're doing it in their own time, which I'm really proud of. But it crushes me because I'm then not only a fan, I was a fan before I was a friend, you know. So that's something that I actually have a first-hand experience of now, you know, that can happen. Yeah.
And that's something scary to me as well, you know?
It's scary, yeah. And like, it's awful because with that particular person, like, they have a really beautiful heart.
Oh, they have such a beautiful heart.
And
they've helped so many people.
And, you know, they definitely made a mistake in terms of what they said, but my bet is that most people have forgotten about that now.
Definitely.
But they're still carrying the shame and the guilt, and it's just like, oh wow, like, you know, this is what I don't like about the kind of really big shaming culture and call out culture, is that like there are no structures for community care. There's no, like, now, okay, if you were one of those people you know, who called this person out and like wanted to educate them or whatever, like, are you checking in?
Yeah,
how is their mental health?
Yeah, you don't know what you've done to this person, you know?
Yeah.
Then, you know, even just taking off this example we're using, but that was my thing with that article I wrote, you know, that was with Triple X Tentacion, the people around him and all the people that he had affected in a positive way, to see someone that they idolize or someone that's their family to be dragged through the mud, and what that does for people's mental health. And again, bringing it back to the mental health, people are also very detrimental to people's mental health because through this call out culture, you know, that's something that really upsets me, and I want to see change in society, is that I've literally seen someone go through it to a very dark space, you know. And I'm very proud of them to come back into the light, but there was no remorse from the people that threw shit out there, you know, which just breaks my heart.
Yeah, it's tough, you know, and that's the thing. I think, like, for me, what I envision for my relationships and for my life and my ideal world, if I had a magic wand and, you know, could create the ideal world, is like, can it be good for everyone? Do we have to go into this punishment thing, or can we actually hold the possibility that everyone can be healed, because everyone is hurting, you know,
everyone is hurting, and
that pain is manifesting in different ways, but everyone is hurting, and that is the real enemy. The enemy is not each other. The enemy is, you know, the pain within that's unhealed, and the way that manifests in systems of oppression because of so much othering and so much, I am not the same as you, I am different, we're not the same. Like, that's the fucking problem.
That's a big journey that I've made a lot of progress in, but, you know, I've definitely been up on my spiritual high horse in my life. And I believe a big part of me healing that is, one, unfollowing everybody from my community, so I'm not stuck in a bubble, and I'm actually having real life experience with other people, not everyone that just believes in my things, and listening to a lot of different podcasts that are very diverse in who they speak to, so I can get wider perspectives outside of my own community. And also the phase of going on Tinder and dating people that like in a very toxic way that sometimes we label as muggle or normies or whatever, that I'm just getting more perspective, you know, like this like I was telling you off air before, of like getting to hang out with these people the other day that sort of were like, what's the point of feminism and what's the point of trying to heal Indigenous journeys and whatnot, and me sitting and listening, you know, and I feel very passionately different to them, but going, okay, I hear you, you know, I hear this is, and I think that's so important to get a diverse range of people around you that feel multiple ways, so you can and being able to personally hear their story and where that come from, so I can understand, you know. Like there's people, you know, like I remember a big one I journeyed last year was Ben Shapiro. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he is Jewish, and he is like very anti-woke culture. He's like just anything that comes with like being Jew and what's within the rules and principles of that. Like he has a massive platform and he is tearing down people, and he's good, you know, like he can speak to anyone and tear them to pieces and sound right. And to me, first time I heard him, I was like, oh, my nervous system was so under attack, and I was like, someone either fucking shoot this man or heal him, you know, like give him a hug, he needs a hug. And then I went down and listened to more and more of his stuff, and listened to people like he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, where someone that wasn't antagonizing him, and I was like, oh, I hear, like I understand, you know. And just going down and just the people that trigger me, like going deeper into where that comes from and their conditioning, and like, okay,
that's why like I refuse to like hold an extreme like polarized position on anything. Like, for example, you know, like I remember having an argument with someone last year online. Well, I wasn't having the argument. They were arguing with me about vaccinations, because I posted something about like, you know, I can understand that people want to have autonomy over whether they get vaccinated. I can understand that people feel concerned about that. It's like, I get it, you know. And because I wrote that, he was like, you're anti-vax, you're a fucking idiot, you're this, and was just really awful. And, you know, there's such clear like, it's like people who are pro-vaccination think if you're anti-vax, then you're a fucking idiot and you're a conspiracy theorist. And then if you are anti-vax, then you think you're a fucking sheeple if you're going to get vaccinated. And it's such a big divide. And that's not the only place where it happens. It happens in many different places. But for me, like, I feel that part of, you know, what I want to do and what I'm here to do is to be a bridge and hold a neutral space between people. Because what am I fighting for? For me, like, I'm fighting, I mean, my whole life is love. Like, that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm getting initiated into deeper and deeper. So, like, just fucking shortcut. Just go to love from the get-go. You know, it's like, I'm not going to spend my time defending only one group of people against another group of people so that we can open up love. I'm just going to fucking love both groups of people. And if I'm talking, you know, to straight white males, I'm not going to talk to them as if they're the fucking plague of the planet, because that's not healing for anyone. And if I'm speaking to, you know, women who have been through, you know, awful experiences at the hands of men, I'm not going to talk to them like they're fucking helpless victims. I'm going to talk to them like they're human beings and they can heal. And I'm going to, of course, fucking have my full love and presence for both, you know, and anyone who is in contact with me to the best of my ability anyway. Not saying that I'm some fucking angel, you know, Mother Teresa, but at least that is what I aspire to. And I don't care what your politics are. I love you, the being, because you are not your politics. I strongly believe that.
So, a lot of last year, so funny, for someone that has absolutely nothing to do with religion, myself, like I've never, you know, I was never gone to church or never raised in a family. I still ask myself sometimes to this day, like, especially last year, what would Jesus do? And like, it does sound funny, but it's like, the archetype of Jesus in the manner of like holding love, like in the Dalai Lama and these people I ask, I'm like, I'm deeply triggered by this person. What would Jesus do?
Well, even Jesus was not only fucking, this push around. Like, he got mad and fucking flipped the tables in the church, in the temple, when they were using it as a marketplace. Like, he also had, a righteous anger when it was a time for that.
Time for it, yeah.
And he was a fucking rebel, and he fought a really valiant fight for people that he believed in, and he fought for the underdog, and he fought for, like the prostitutes and, and the criminals and all of that. So the Jesus that we're sold is not even fucking really Jesus.
Yeah.
Damn. We went far and wide.
Yeah, I feel like that was the closing there. Yeah. Epic. I hope to those who made it to the end and still love us, we needed your love today.
We needed this today.
It's been a while since I've been on a big rant like that, especially on a public platform.
Yeah. I will say, if you watch this and you are triggered by anything that we have shared, if you feel the need or desire to reach out for discussion, I'm open to discussion. I'm not open to, like arguments or anything like that. I'm open to discussion, but like maybe take a beat, take a breath, move it through your body. And then if you want to have a discussion, I'm totally open to that.
Yeah, likewise. I'm never here for... And I just, I have boundaries. So if you come at me...
That's what I mean.
You will be met with my boundaries, which is, if it's on Instagram, you just go into my request section.
Shit. Yeah.
But if you want to open up and maybe give me a perspective that I've missed, or
Always
let me know an
open to that,
experience that it's ignited in you that maybe I wouldn't have been aware of.
Totally.
Or you may have questions about how I got to this or Alpha's got to this perspective. And like, again, just things for yourself that you might not want to have a conversation with us, but things that have really helped me get to this point again is The Spiral, is ISTA, is Dancing Eros, is Open World Theatre. These certain places of personal development have really helped me personally, among many endless books and conversations and people that I've met. But these are things that I know you can like go to and go deeply into these areas.
Totally. Yep. And also the internet is a free platform where you can host your own podcast if you feel strongly about things and you got some stuff to say, like, create. Create.
Yeah, if you have a reply on your podcast, like, send me the link and I'll listen.
Totally. Yeah. Amazing. Well, we love you and thank you for tuning in. It sounds like we needed this today because we had a lot of shit that we needed to get.
Things off our chest.
Yeah, we really did. And I don't know how we went from one thing to the next thing, but it happened and here we are.
Yeah, it's part of the tangent.
It's 10 o'clock.
Damn, how long did we go for? Let's see, by ending now. Wait, now. How do we do that? Ending